What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Switch Bit. Today we are going to be unboxing the Sega Genesis Mini. Okay, so let me kick this thing off. I'm going to talk about my history with the Sega Genesis real quick. Number one, it's one of my top favorite consoles. It's definitely in the top five, probably top three consoles. Like as far as memory goes and nostalgia goes, just my childhood goes. I absolutely love the Sega Genesis. I have a collection sitting over there. Now back behind me, my game room is still in disarray, but it'll get better one day. But back over there in my closet where I have all my games right now, I have like over 150. It's like 180 Sega Genesis games. I love the system. I recently picked up the Hyperkin Mega Retron HD. I also have a modded original Sega Genesis. Now, it's not the kind that says high definition right here, but it's that same model that I first had, when I was younger, but it's modded with purple lights and purple accents. So to say that I love the Genesis is an understatement. Really is one of my favorite systems ever. I have such a strong just affinity for it. Back in the 16-bit wars, I was like, 8 years old, 9 years old, or whatever. We got a Sega Genesis. We didn't have a lot of money at the time, but my mom picked up a Sega Genesis with Sonic, and it was that original, it was when the Sonic came with it, but it was that original high definition graphics model, just like the Sega Mini that just came out. So, like, I have a lot of fond memories, and Sega was my console of choice for several years, honestly, until the N64 came out, and then I kind of hopped back on the Nintendo bandwagon. But we're here to talk about this right here. Now, first of all, let's take a look at the box. It is a very close representation of the original box. The original box was a bit more square. This is a bit more rectangular, but I specifically remember this grid design when my mom purchased this for the family. I remember this right here. It's very much right in line with the marketing of the time. And of course, it's got the red buttons, which I love. It's got all the cool little pieces. Accents wise, Sonic, with all his attitude, what it comes with, which is the console and two controllers and whatever's inside. What else we got here? There's this side right here, and then some warnings and stuff. But we're gonna hop right into unboxing this bad boy. And I like that it doesn't have the tape on this, where you have to like cut it, and it's just really simple. I hope that wasn't important. I think that was the USB piece. Let's take a look. All right. So I guess we're gonna unbox this first. So, power, one USB adapter. Cool. I'll make sure to keep all these little plastic pieces because like 20 years from now, if I want to sell it for my retirement or whatever, like people pay more money to have these little plastic pieces. Okay, let's see what else we got in here. I think here's the power cord. Rock and roll. Typical. Yep. Everything standard so far. Got something else in here. HDMI cord. Leave it in the package. Here is the Sega Genesis Mini book. I'm going to pull that out and take a little gander at it. It's got French, Spanish, American. Nothing, plug the controllers in and play. There's really not a whole lot of instructions involved. I think, once we get into it, you're going to be able to figure out. This has 40 games plus 2. So originally they talked about 40 games, and then 2 kind of like special surprise games. So here they are right there. So we got Tetris, which was never officially released as far as I know on the Sega Genesis. Like I think there were like some like bootleg versions back in the day. It was kind of like the Wild West. And Darius, which I think is a shooter, but I'm not very sure. Other games on here that I'm really excited about. Castle of Illusion, and they've kind of like put that front and center, which is cool. Altered Beast, I've owned and played so many times, but I really, really like that game just for the nostalgia. You know, rise from your grave. Comic Zone, one day I'll beat it. Maybe. I feel like I need to like really beat that game. It's haunted me since my childhood, and like in 10 years, I'm gonna be like 46, so I won't have the reflexes to beat it. I don't think. Road Rash 2. That's awesome. That's really cool. I haven't played Road Rash in forever. A lot of really cool games, but a lot of standards. Shinobi 3, there's only like one of most of them except for Sonic, like as far as like the franchises go. And Mega Man and Wily Wars. I've never played that, so that'll be a fun opportunity. Next up, we're going to take a look at the controllers. It comes with 2 wired controllers, and these are the red button versions. So, just let me feel it real quick. Okay. It feels good. I need to do a comparison video, I think, as for the D-pad. It's got the rocker D-pad, which, like, traditionally I don't like. But, you know, I think it'll be fine. It feels high quality. It really, really does. Which is good, because, like, I've played some of these Sega ones. Those games, Sega consoles are terrible. They're awful. Terrible quality. This feels like they actually put love into their product. Just like the Super Nintendo minis, those were really, I mean, you could tell that it was like a passion project. You could tell that the people who were in charge of that wanted high quality, like most things Nintendo. The Sony stinker, like, there was a cash in. This is not a cash in. This is not an at-games cash in. You can tell just from the feeling of the controllers. Like, they're going for authenticity. They're going to try to, like, get into the nostalgic hearts and minds of the gamers, you know, who played it back in the day. Because my girlfriend, I have other friends who do not play games, but they have very fond memories of playing like Aladdin or Lion King or Sonic on the Sega Genesis. They'll ask me like, hey, do you have a Sega that I can play? So this is for them just as much as it's for like us, the gamers. Okay. The piece de resistance. Ooh, yeah. So, for comparison size to my head, it's that big. But you don't know how big my head is, I guess. I have a big head. Alright, so let's do a comparison size to the controller. It's like smaller vertically than the controller. And what's cool is, like, all these little pieces work right here. Clicks, reset button. I don't know if it's functional. I have no idea, but it clicks. And if it's not functional and it clicks, that's even more kudos to them. Here's another comparison to my phone. And I have a little phone. I have like the Samsung Galaxy J7. Like, I don't even think they make this anymore. It's like the children's version of the Galaxy. This thing is tiny. So here's next to my microphone. Oh gosh, that's going to sound terrible. Look how little. But it's in line with the other systems. So here's the Nintendo. I say that's a pretty good comparison right there. And then that's to the Super Nintendo. So, I mean, pretty accurate and faithful representations as far as size goes. So here's the back of it. And this is the high definition graphics version. Now, obviously, they had a different, I guess, definition of what high definition meant back in the day. But I like this version. This version sounds good. Here's some USB ports, or yeah, for the controllers. So I'm sure some modders will have a field day with that. Anyways, there it is. This is the beautiful, beautiful Sega Genesis Mini. I'm really excited to have an opportunity to play this. I'm going to be putting it through the ringer, and I'll come back with kind of a comparison. I want to compare the controllers to the different controllers that are available. I have a ton of Sega Genesis controllers I can compare it to. and let's see how it plays. I think it's going to play really well because of who's behind it. So I think M2 was behind the emulation of it, and they have a pretty good track record. So thank you all for tuning in. I hope that you guys subscribe, like, and do all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you next time. Happy hunting, everybody.